Hi guys, Forgotten Wolf here, and this is part one of my Winds of Winter prediction series, and which is based off the Game of Thrones books. This time in part one, it is on the North. And before I begin, let me just say this is not based on the continuity of the show, although elements that happen in the show might be used as evidence for the books. Please like, share, and subscribe, and let's begin. So first, a bit of background. At this point in the Game of Thrones books, the Boltons still rule Winterfell, sadly, and Theon has just helped fake Arya Stark escape. There are two Arya Starks in the books. Uh, and they're and in Winds of Winter they arrive in Stannis' camp. Stannis is also about to march against the Freys in the Battle of Ice, and then half the Bolton army inside Winterfell itself. Jon Snow has just been murdered, and fake Arya and Justin Massey are on their way to the wall to have fake Arya under Jon's protection. And it's rumored that Justin Massey is then supposed to go to Bravos, where the real Arya Stark is. And and Justin Massey has to get 20,000 swords for Stannis. Meanwhile, Davos Seaward is believed dead thanks to the Manderleys, who are quote unquote supporting the Boltons, who in reality they want to see the Starks, more specifically Rickon, as Lord of the Winterfell, since Rickon is on the island of Skagos, and Davos has been sent to escort him back home. Meanwhile, in Winter, Asha Greyjoy has convinced Stannis to kill Theon to appease the Northern Lords. Now let's begin with the predictions. Please like, share, and subscribe. In Theon 1, a sample chapter, we do have Stannis will meet Theon and make arrangements, including planning to kill him after he takes Winterfell. And I don't think this will happen primarily because Theon's redemption arc isn't complete. He needs to help the Starks. And we have Davos where we get to see Davos meet Rickon Stark and Osha the Wildling and all the many challenges that come with the island of Skagos. And at the end of the chapter, Davos will convince Rickon to come back home to become the new Lord of Winterfell. Then we get the first Bran chapter of the book, which will show another vision, but I don't know what it'll be. That's up to George. Next is Theon 2, the second Theon chapter of the book, which shows the aftermath of the Battle of Ice, where the Frey army is defeated and the Manderleys join Stannis. Then Stannis makes plans to fake his death so that he can join the Manderleys and take Winterfell in the next few days. There's a theory that to take Winterfell, Stannis will fake his death after some dialogue with Justin Massey in the previous book, and some users online have devised this into the Nightlamp and the fake death theory, so you can go check them out online. I don't know where I found it from. Yeah. Moving on, then we get Davos 2, where Davos and Rickon begin their journey home, where they learn that Stannis has won the Battle of Ice. Maybe they learn that he's dead or not, but they learn the Manderleys are on the side of Stannis. And Davos and Rickon at the end of the chapter leave White Harbor or wherever there is the Manderleys are to go to Winterfell. In the second Bran chapter, we get Bran leaving the Three-Eyed Raven, as well as one of the big twists we do have being George R.R. Martin telling the writers of the Game of Thrones show that about the Hodor event. And from this, we can reasonably assume that Bran is going to be rescued at the end by Benjen Stark and begin his journey home. I don't think Summer's going to die in this, by the way. I don't know if we'll get a Tower of Joy. Actually, no, sorry. We're not going to get the Tower of Joy yet. Then we get Theon 3, where it is revealed that Stannis has taken Winterfell and killed Roose Bolton, and then learns of Jon Snow's death. And at Melisandre's suggestion, Stannis goes up north to try and resurrect Jon, as Theon reveals that the fake Arya isn't Arya, but it's actually Jane Poole. Stannis needs a Stark Winterfell, and he doesn't know Davos is alive, bringing Rickon home, and Jon would be free from his Night's Watch vows when he lives again. And then Stannis leaves, and by the time of Davos 3, Stannis is left, but Rickon returns to Winterfell to find everyone gone except for the captive Theon Greyjoy and the Manderley army. This is where Rickon is crowned as Lord of Winterfell, and the Starks are back, baby! Next character to get a POV chapter is Asha Greyjoy in the first Asha chapter of Winds of Winter, where we get the full extent of what has gone down with the Night's Watch since the death of Jon Snow. Alistair Thorne and the mutineers are hanged by Stannis. Stannis also learns that Ed, one of Jon's friends, has gone to rally the wildlings to avenge Jon, or maybe they're already there. At the end of the chapter, Stannis decides to burn his own daughter to awake Jon. Stannis burning Shireen is another thing we know that will happen, since George said that to the writer of the Game of Thrones show. That was the second twist. Before we get to Jon, another brand chapter will take place where we see Benjen Stark is alive, and I already covered that in the last chapter. But the big twist is Bran wargs to see the Tower of Joy, and we get the huge plot twist that Jon Snow is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. I think that's another one we also got from George, although I'm not too certain on that one. With all the uncertainty of Jon, we get Jon 1, where Jon is back alive. Jon wakes up and we get the How of Melisandre's magic. And although Jon is angry that Shireen died for him, Stannis meets Jon again and tells Jon that he will bring the wildlings down to Winterfell, and Stannis is taking it when he's fully recovered. And since he has died, Jon is free from his Night's Watch vows. Stannis tells Jon that he's leaving to return to Winterfell, but Jon also reveals that he warged inside Ghost the whole time. The next chapter is Jon 2. This is going to be, obviously there's other chapters from different parts of Westeros, but the next northern chapter is the second Jon chapter, where Jon is leaving and he says goodbye to Ed Tormund, and brings the wildlings down. But when he's about to leave, Jon sees Melisandre return to the wall, and three things are revealed to Jon. 1, Rickon is alive and Lord of Winterfell. 2, Stannis is dead as his army was slain in a surprise attack thanks to Ramsay Bolton, who it's theorized that Stannis is going to avoid battle with him entirely. And 3, Ramsay is marching on the wall to kill Jon and the wildlings. This causes Jon to experience a flurry of emotion, but he leaves the wall with Ghost, Melisandre, and the wildlings, setting up our own Battle of the Bastards. I originally wasn't going to include this, but this is too iconic of an event. Then we cut to Davos 4, where Asha Greyjoy arrives in Winterfell and tells Davos that Stannis is dead, for real this time. Asha convinces Davos to release Theon, since now there's no more reason for Asha to want Theon dead with Stannis around, and Asha says they will go over to White Harbor to take some ships, and although not hidden to Davos at the time, to bring Daenerys Targaryen back to Westeros. Asha also says that Jon is alive, and the Battle of the Bastards is about to take place, and the Manderley army leaves Winterfell to go assist Jon. Okay, I keep getting notifications, sorry for that. And then we actually get to see a new POV chapter in the North, being Elaine, who is Stone, who is actually Sansa Stark. How they will get north will be featured in a future part, but the important thing is that Littlefinger and Sansa learn that Rickon is Lord of Winterfell, and they arrive in Winterfell. Littlefinger vows to have the Knights of the Vale defend the Starks, and tells Davos that if necessary can marry Elaine to Rickon, so that Davos would know, 1, Littlefinger's character, and 2, that Elaine is Sansa Stark. Davos believes Littlefinger, lets him into Winterfell. To end the chapter, we see Elaine sneak into Rickon's chambers and reveals to him that she is Sansa Stark, and the two reunite. Maybe this could also take place as Littlefinger announces to everyone that Elaine is actually Sansa Stark. But yeah, moving on, after a lot of setup, we get to see Jon 3, which is the Battle of the Bastards. It's going to be very similar, but instead of the Vale army, it's the Manderley army arriving to save Jon and the wildlings. The end is Jon still punching Ramsay, this time to death. Then we also get to see Jon and Ghost fight side by side, and Ghost kills Ramsay by devouring him, like how Ramsay was killed in the show, but by his hounds. Yeah. And the battle takes place exactly where Jon escaped the wildlings back in Book 3. Jon is now on his way home. This time, the next chapter is another Stark being this time Arya 5. I'll go over the first 4 chapters in a future part. I will. But the most important thing is Arya reunites with Sansa back in Winterfell. The next chapter is Bran 4, where Bran meets Ed, who is now Lord Commander. Bran is allowed past the wall and continues his journey back to Winterfell. We get to see Benjen Stark say his goodbyes, and we probably won't see him again after this. Yeah, and Bran is on his way back to Winterfell to try and meet Jon, speak with him, tell him his true identity. Speaking of Jon, it is time for Jon Forward. Jon finally returns back to Winterfell and reunites with his siblings. Rickon and Sansa and Arya, it's an emotional reunion. That night, Jon has a funny dream about the crypts, so the next day he goes into the crypts where he meets Howland Reed. Howland Reed is at the Tower of Joy, which means he knows Jon's true parentage. And it's heavily rumored he has Ned Stark's bones and Robb Stark's will. Robb Stark's will was excluded from the show, but Robb Stark has a will where it dictates that Jon is named Stark, and I forgot what I was gonna say. And that he. All right, I'm gonna come back to that because I'm leaving a blank right now. Howland Reed tells Jon about his true parentage, telling them that Robb's will makes him Stark and King in the King in the North. The next chapter is Bran 5, where Bran returns to Winterfell. Bran reunites with Sansa, Rickon, Arya, and Jon. Sansa then tries to get Bran to claim Winterfell, but Bran says he doesn't want it, and that he is the Three-Eyed Raven. We also get to see Shaggy Dog, Summer, Nymeria, and Ghost, all the living direwolves reunite. Is it raining? Oh, it's raining outside. Cool. Next chapter is the final Sansa chapter of the book, where it starts off with all the Stark children putting Ned Stark's bones to rest in the crypts, a solemn moment. Sansa then meets Jon, and Jon and Sansa have a conflict over who should be Lord Regent for Rickon, since he is only 8 in the books at this time of writing the script and in the Winds of Winter. End is reconciling after learning the events of King's Landing in the book. More than that in the future part. The future chapter. The final chapter in the North is in the Winds of Winter is Jon 5. With all the Starks back in Winterfell, council's been declared to decide the Stark succession crisis. It starts off with Bran and Arya saying they have no interest in ruling and being Lord of Winterfell. Jon then instructs Howland Reeds to hand him Robb's will. Jon Reeds allowed the will of King Robb Stark, meaning Jon Stark, and King in the North. The book and the chapter ends with everyone shouting, "The King in the North!" Jon is now the King in the North, like in this show. I know this might seem weird since Jon refused Stannis, but Jon will probably accept that out of duty. Stannis offered him it. Thanks so much for watching, and in the next part I'll give my predictions on King's Landing in the Winds of Winter. So please like, share, and subscribe. And if you want more like this at 100 subscribers, I'll do a 1-hour video on the FNAF Timeline. At 500 likes, I'll do a video on Greyjoy's Rebellion. And at 50k views, I'll do a video on the life of Ned Stark. But until next time, bye!